I don't know how to start this, but I'll try. My brother was in film club when we were in high school, and after lots of begging, I was in too. We were all assigned to make an animation. When we came home that day, my brother was acting strange and said in a very low voice that he needed to start on his animation immediately. He went upstairs to his room without any further conversation. He stayed in his room almost the entire week, leaving only to use the bathroom, eat, and go to school. I was worried, and so were our parents, but we decided to leave him alone. I still wonder to this very day why we even decided to do that. About 3 or 4 days before the animation was due, he had finished with his project. I asked to see it, but he said no, even when I offered to let him see mine. He said that it was a surprise for everyone in film club, and then he smiled at me. Probably the creepiest smile I'd ever seen on him, or anybody else for that matter. Then came the day that the animations were due. There were about 6 kids in film club, including my brother and I, and since we were asked by the club director, each one of us brought one friend. My brother asked to go last, saying that his was too long to show at the beginning. A lot of the animations were funny, and a few were abstract, but I was genuinely concerned as to what my brother's was. And then it came time to pop in my brother's tape. The animation started with some static, which cleared to a white screen. Everyone inched closer, seeing that the best was obviously saved for last. Boy, were we all wrong on that one. The white faded to something I faintly recognized. A screenshot of an opening title card from Little Bear, a show that we used to watch when we were kids. Then the title appeared, which read in very crude handwriting, Little Bear and the Big Red Book. The animation started just like a normal Little Bear episode. Little Bear was out in the yard playing fisherman, and then he stopped and said if he wondered if Father Bear would like to go fishing the next day. He ran inside to ask. Father Bear was sitting on the table, a big red book open before him. Father Bear looked very sad and somewhat angry. Little Bear didn't really notice this and asked Father Bear the question he wanted to ask him. Father Bear gave no response, but stood up and walked out of the house without a word. Little Bear looked disappointed for a second, and then climbed into Father Bear's chair and began to read the red book. A voice that wasn't Little Bear's, or anyone on the shows for that matter, started to read some disturbing poetry. As the voice read on, Little Bear got more and more depressed looking. Everything except the book slowly faded to grayscale, and the voice got more and more high-pitched. The club director tried to turn off the projector, but for some reason it wouldn't turn off, which made him swear a little bit, which was actually kind of funny because teachers are normally not allowed to swear in front of students. And then suddenly everything stopped. The film then cut to Mother Bear tucking Little Bear into bed. Little Bear looked extremely shocked with a blank expression on his face, and he was staring at us. His eyes were extremely bloodshot and his fur was all mangled. The whole scene, except Mother Bear and Little Bear, were rather realistic. Mother Bear turned off the light and left the room. Little Bear started to sing slowly as the room got more and more dark.
My body lies over the ocean. My body lies over the sea. My body lies over the ocean. Oh, bring back my body to me.
A pair of red eyes appeared above Little Bear, and a terrifying laugh played. Then what looked like some sort of monstrosity of a creature jumped on the Little Bear. The entire screen cut to white, and then it slowly faded to a montage of different scenes of running water. A little boy's voice, joined in by my brother's, was singing the same song when Little Bear was singing, but with the added lyrics.
Bring back my body. Bring back my body. Bring back my body to me. To me. Bring back my body. Bring back my body. Bring back my body to me.
Then it faded to a picture of me when I was a child, standing next to a grave with my mom's name on it. and a picture of her under it. And mind you, my mother is still alive today. The screen then cut to black, and the projector finally turned off, and that was the end of it. And everyone was shocked, and the club director asked everyone to leave except for my brother. My best friend and I went to my house to discuss this short film. I don't know how or where he got that picture of me standing next to my mom's grave, I told him. He looked at me confused. No, he said. That picture was of me standing next to my mom. What the hell is wrong? And then we both freaked out. We asked my friend's parents if he could spend the night, to which they said yes. We spent the rest of the night talking about this film. The next day was Saturday, and my mother told us that my brother was sent to a mental hospital. Monday we came back to school, we found out during an assembly that the 4 other kids in film club and the other 5 kids that were visiting committed suicide after killing their mothers, and that the club director quit. When I came home that day, I found that my brother was put in jail with 18 counts of murder and 1 count of public disturbance. He'll never be let out. I decided to keep this a secret for so long now. I'm afraid, and that I'll have to let it out. Someone somehow found the animation and put it up on the internet on an unknown website under the title Little Bear and the Big Red Book, Never Before Seen Episode, in some sick hopes it'll traumatize some little kids. If you happen to find it, please contact the website immediately and have it taken down. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. And that, my little shadows, was Little Bear in the Big Red Book, a Little Bear Lost Episode Creepypasta. My final thoughts on the story? Not a bad story, but at the same time, the ending kind of ruined it for me. So let's start off with the positives of this story first. What I really enjoyed about this creepypasta was the way that it began. It didn't start up with the usual lost episode cliche tropes like garage sales of, VHS tapes or anything remotely stupid like that. It started off with something rather realistic as, a kid going into a film club at school and making an animation. I mean, if you've been in film club or anything, which I almost did, but unfortunately I never got the opportunity to do that, you would know that when it comes to these kind of things, you will be tested on, you're most likely going to be tested on your editing skills, and this is something I'm quite sure the film director wanted them all to do. Now, another thing about this episode that I really enjoyed was the episode itself. It didn't have blood, it didn't have gore, it did have hyperrealism. That's the one thing I can really knock off from the story, is that it had hyperrealism. It could have mentioned something else, like it actually being a real photo of like a bedroom, but no, it had to mention hyperrealism. That's not good, people. Hyperrealism does not work. Unless you're Squidward's suicide, but that's another story. But despite all of that, though, the episode itself really worked out well. I mean, it started off simply with, Little Bear going and talking with his dad, the Big Red Book, which, that's something I can actually penalize this story for. What exactly was in that specific book that made Little Bear go all crazy as he did? I mean, I know it said, mentioned dark poetry, but even then, though, not even like works like Edgar Allan Poe could do something like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was something a lot worse, but I really wish the author would have, put that into the story itself. That way we can get a good visual of what exactly happened in the story itself. Now, and I think this is the biggest thing that I liked most about this story was, well, just how interesting it was. I mean, I gotta admit, it takes a little bit of guts to make a creepypasta about Little Bear and it actually work, which this story did up until the very end, as I mentioned before. Which brings me to my next part, specifically the things that I didn't like about the story. What I can truly say about this story that really didn't work for me was the ending. I mean, really, having your brother being sent to a mental asylum because they made a spooky VHS tape or something like that is completely ridiculous. I mean, come on. I mean, if what his brother made was worthy enough to sit there and have him sent to a mental asylum, I'm quite sure half of the YouTubers, including my own self, would probably be sent to a freaking mental asylum with that kind of logic. I mean, people, that doesn't work. And another thing too, VHS tapes don't drive kids to kill themselves or their parents. But even if that did happen, let's say that did happen, which it didn't, but let's say it did. Why is it that the older brother is getting charged for all of for the supposed murders when in all due sincerity, the kids were the ones that killed themselves? I mean, the brother had literally nothing to do with it. He just showed a VHS tape with a little bit of creepy imagery in it, and then people go ape shit. I mean, the only thing that was relatively realistic in the end was the film director quitting. Actually, no, I can't even say that. I don't know. I mean, it's a very pathetic way to sit there and go out and, kill yourself and your mom just because of the fact of the matter that, you saw a spooky VHS tape. It doesn't work, people. It just does not work. And here's what I would have done to make this story a million times better. Completely rewritten the ending. Had it actually be realistic. I mean, maybe there might have been something a little bit messed up in the brother's head, and if it went on the lines of something like, I don't know, the kid being sent to therapy or whatever, that I could honestly believe. But unfortunately, it didn't go that way, but like I said, that's what I would have changed. I would have at least had something realistic in there. That way, it all just kind of came together. Overall, though, this is just my personal opinion, and if you disagree with that, that's fine too. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. My final rating of the story would be a 7 out of 10. The story itself was interesting, the beginning was great, the grammar was good as always. However, the ending in and of its own self nearly killed the story for me. Had it actually been done realistically, rather than, murder and crap like that, it would have been a full 10 out of 10. What did you guys think about this story? Did you enjoy it? Also, what did you think of about my review? Did you agree with it or not? And if so, leave me your thoughts down in the comment section below. Also, what would you do to make this story better? I'm the Shadow Reader. Thanks again for watching today's episode, and like always, roll the outro.